Alright, the other day, I was thinking about something that happened to me a few years ago, and, it was a pretty crazy thing that happened, and, I'm gonna tell you the story. This one might be maybe like a 5 minute video or something, but I'm also I want to talk about it. So, back in September of 2024, so I was 12 years old at the time. So first of all, growing up, he'd always kind of showed me like, if you squirt the rubbing alcohol stuff that you can buy at like Walmart and stuff. He was like, yeah, if you squirt it on fire or whatever, it'll just flare up and make some cool flames and stuff. And in the past, we'd kind of use it to start fires and stuff in our backyard, like campfires and stuff. And anyways, one day I was in charge of getting some coals going for our barbecue, and I'd stuff some paper underneath the coals. So I lit the paper. And I was kind of blowing on the coals, trying to get them started, and I thought they'd gone out. I'd waited for like 5 minutes or so I grabbed a bottle of that alcohol stuff. I'm gonna see if no, I don't know if I have some on hand, but it's just like the little plastic bottles, like that big, that tall, that they're they're at almost every grocery store or like store and Walmart and stuff. Anyways, I grabbed one of those bottles, thinking, oh yeah, I can just squirt some of that on like lighter fluid and throw a match on there. But what I didn't know was there was actually some hot coals. Like there's still something was still going in there, and I did not know that. So when I squirted that alcohol stuff on there, I'm like, it actually ignited, and the fire traveled up the stream of alcohol coming into coming out of the bottle, and it exploded. So this plastic bottle that I'm holding, it exploded, and I don't know how to edit. So I would edit some photos in, but I don't know how to edit. But anyways, the bottle exploded, and for like half a second, I don't know how long I was standing there, but it feels like it was a long time that I was standing there, but it also feels like kind of a short amount of time. But anyways, I was standing there, I looked at my hand, I'm like, oh, my hand's on fire, my hand's on fire, and I thankfully I didn't panic, and I remembered, like, one of those things that you're always taught as a kid is like, if you're ever on fire, stop, drop, and roll. And thankfully I remember that from countless firefighters, and just pretty much everywhere you're at as a kid, you'll always hear that. So I remember that, thankfully, and I dove down into the grass, and I was outside. I dove down into the grass, and I just rubbed my hand around the ground, and I was able to smother it in the grass, like the fire on my hand, and I remember after that, I remember like kind of still on the grass, I was still for a few seconds, just waiting to see if I could detect any heat, like on my chest or elsewhere on my arm or my hand. And I was ready to just start rolling on the ground again. But thankfully my hand was the only part that caught fire. But so all of my pinky, like half my pinky finger, like all of this, like all of that got second-degree burns. I got second-degree burns here on my right hand, here, covering up like part of my thumb, like this area, and a few on the back, and like on the sides of my fingers and stuff. Thankfully there's no scarring at all, which is really impressive. But anyways, we got my hand soaking in a bowl of ice water, and well, no, it wasn't ice water. We just got a bowl of cold water, and Sorry, I'm kind of sick today. Sorry. Anyways, so we I called my dad, and he was at work, and I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I was trying to start some coals for the barbecue grill, and so like the alcohol bottle exploded, and my hand caught fire." And my dad, he immediately starts panicking, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're gonna have to get skin grafts and stuff." Blah blah blah. I'm like, and that really freaked me out. So I'm like, I don't want skin grafts, no. And so we drove to the emergency room, and thankfully it was only like a 5 minute drive away from us, or yeah, about 5 minutes, because we're only a few miles from town. But I drove to the emergency room. The nice thing about a small town hospital, or like a decent small town hospital, is that when we got there, we were able to get right into the emergency room, no problem. And yeah, that was amazing. And the guy there was pretty chill, but for some reason, he insisted on taking my hand out of the bowl of ice water. Until that moment, I didn't really fully feel the pain in my hand. But afterwards, like after my hand was out, my wounds started drying. That's when the full pain hit me. It was the worst pain I've experienced in my life. It was, oh gosh, it was horrible. And we were in there. Sorry, Maple's out there. Anyways, I was in there for quite some time. I have no idea how long it took, because when you're injured, sometimes things just take. It feels like forever. But yeah, the guy, he was like, finally started wrapping up my hand and stuff, and getting it bandages. He was telling me, most likely you're gonna be in bandages for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even 3.5 weeks at the longest. And I was like, no! And then he also told me that I would probably have permanent scarring for life on my hand. And so I was really kind of panicked, kind of freaked out by that. But yeah, we got home from the hospital. My hand was still hurting like crazy. And the next few days, I have to change my bandage just every day. It was awful. It was so painful, like, because sometimes like the gauze and stuff would stick to the burns, so it just hurt like crazy when we were pulling it off. And yeah, it was pretty insane. Like, it was great. And then about 10 days later. Wait, no, sorry, I remembered something crazy. So I remember the day after I had my hand injury, like the day after I got those burns, I was supposed to teach a kids group lesson, like a kind of a youth group for kids lesson at a church, and a lot of the people there were like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to teach that tonight, like, cause you got your hand injured." It was supposed to be like a game night too, and I was supposed to be helping out with that. And I went through with it. I was like, "Hey, I like doing this stuff." I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna help with this game night that our church is doing for the kids." And even though I couldn't really play any of the games myself, I was still there, and I was hanging out with kids and stuff, and planning the games out and stuff. It was just crazy. That was the day after I got my hand injury. It was nuts. Wow, this might be one of the longer videos I've ever done on my channel. Anyways, yeah, like 10 days after my burns, we had a video check-in with some doctors in Seattle, and they were looking at my hand, and they were like, those look like they healed up pretty dang well. And they said, I think you could take your bandages off. So 10 days after I got my burns, I got my bandages off, which was so impressive. And the cool thing is the amount of family members and friends that we had praying for me, I think we estimated we had around 50 to 75 people praying for me with my injuries. and it was crazy. So yeah, all like it shows prayer works. God is he exists. He's alive, and God's healing people out there. It's pretty cool. But yeah, like I have 0 scars on my hand. For a while, I did have somewhere in this general area. I had a this area. I had like a scar that looked like sunglasses, and that I feel like was a little thing from God, just showing that, just kind of to make me laugh every now and then. So sometimes if I'd look at my hand, I would see little sunglasses. It disappeared after a few months, but it was like the only scar that lasted for a while. But yeah, it's important to it's important to pray, and it's also important to like if you're ever on fire, it's always important to remember stop, drop, and roll. Like as a kid, you always think like, oh, that's probably not gonna happen to me, and you just I feel like as a kid you always kind of forget about it because it's pushed a lot by grown-ups and stuff. But it actually saved my hand. So to all of you kids out there, anyone out there watching that, just remember, if you're ever on fire, like if part of you's on fire, stop, drop, and roll. That's the best thing. Like and subscribe if you guys want. Thanks for watching. I know this was kind of a longer video that I normally don't do, but also let me know if I should start a Minecraft channel. It'd be kind of cool to find to see if you guys would want to watch Minecraft videos. I don't know how to edit, but I also don't really know how to use screen recording stuff and whatnot. But Maple's out there. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded in a while too, but I'll do that soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.